everybody. Welcome to another Principal Podcast. I am Liz Rayburn, and I am coming to you right at the after your spring break, most likely. So many of us have had spring break, and we are refreshed and relaxed and rejuvenated and ready for that last 6, 7, 8 week hustle with our scholars. We know this is a crazy time in school leadership this season, right? With lots of testing, field trips, end of the year things, getting ready to think about next year. You're doing hirings, you're finishing up your TEKs. You've got an enormous amount on our plates right now as school-based leaders. And so what I really want to focus on and talk about and have you goal set for April is something that we do here at Bryan County Middle High School that I feel is one of the most powerful professional learning opportunities that we've done as a cabinet and a leadership team. And hopefully you will feel inspired after just listening to a little bit about it today, and you will feel like it may be something that you will want to do in your schoolhouse as well. So what I'm talking about today is you're going to get a couple different infographics on it. It's called Shadow a Scholar Day. And what it is it is an opportunity for your support team, whatever your admin team looks like, to pick a scholar and then literally become that scholar for the entire day. It is a commitment, and you do need to think about what that's going to look like. You need to make a plan. I'm going to talk you through some critical steps to help you frame what it's going to look like and what that day can look like for you. But in essence, every year that I've done Shadow a Scholar Day, it really helps me bring myself back to what's happening in the learning space of our scholars. And it helps me be more reflective when I'm making decisions that are building based in terms of how long class periods should be, how long lunch should be, what actually is happening from start to finish in a learning space, and how are teachers planning, how are they using instructional time, all of those things. So is it perfect? No. Is anytime you go into a classroom, you're going to see things that maybe aren't totally real, right? Teachers maybe are going to act a little different. Kids are going to act a little bit different. That's just part of it. So don't get caught up in, all of the minute things, but really focus on what are the big picture things and what are those things that you can take stock of and think about as you are thinking about hiring, developing the master schedule, thinking about different pathways or connections classes that you want to offer in your school, right? So the first step to Shadow a Scholar Day is obviously you need to get your admin team on board. That's not going to be hard. As the principal of the school, right, you're going to really sell this idea of it helps us as the adults in the building really put ourselves in the shoes of a scholar. I say all the time, schools were built for kids, right? They weren't built for us to have jobs, although I love my job and I'm really grateful and thankful every day that I have it. Schools were built for kids. And so we never can be too far removed from what is actually happening in that learning space. So the first thing you need to do is get your team on board, right? Then once you do that, that will be easy. You're a principal. You need to make an advertisement. So I use Canva for lots of things, and I make a Canva and then I make a Google form, and I communicate with our scholars all the time. I send school-wide emails all the time to get feedback, to have meetings. I have a principal's council, all those things. So I made an advertisement and had it up, had it on announcements, had it in our halls, and then I made a Google form sign up, and I sent that announcement plus some narrative, maybe further explaining what Shadow a Scholar Day was, what the outcome, what I'm expecting to gain from this activity and event, and then I send it to email to all of our scholars. And so that generates a sign up. This year we had about 75 students willing to take us up on Shadow a Scholar Day, right? So then I had to I asked some questions on that, and I'm happy to share that form with you. But why are you interested in Shadow a Scholar Day? What can I learn from your school day? What would you like me to know as an adult who makes decisions in the building for you? What is something that would be helpful for me to know. So ask a lot of probing questions so I can get some good feedback and narrative, and make sure that we're really identifying the right students. You really want to think about the students that you shadow, because you don't want to get yourself or your whole team dialed into shadowing the same subgroups of students, right? You want to make sure that you're kind of getting a really broad perspective of your school as a whole. So make sure that when you're working as a team and you find and you get that group and you've identified who that group is, you really have identified a very diverse range of students. For us, these last couple of years, it's been a little bit more difficult because we're a 612. So making sure that we are equitable with our middle and our upper, and then making sure that we are having everybody represented has been something that we've been hyper focused on. So then after you get your group, you need to meet with them. So you have a meeting, you call them in, and you talk to them about what the goals are for you as a school leader and of this project, what you're gonna do, what it's gonna be like, what you're hoping to learn. And so you just generate some dialogue. You want to make sure you have some relationships already built and established with the students that are selected. Most of the time, the students that pick this type of project are students who probably feel a connection or have a connection either to you or someone on your admin team or in your school in general. And so it's not hard to continue that connection or to make sure that they understand the goals of the project, right? Then you tell them when it's going to happen and you do it. You don't necessarily tell your staff. I never do, but I show up on Shadow a Scholar Day. For me, it was just a couple weeks ago on a Tuesday. I picked a white day this year, and I was a student. I dressed like the student. I had a book bag. I packed my lunch, but I also am going to buy my lunch. And you really assume the schedule of your scholar that you've selected for the day. That means, hear me when I say, no radio, and you're the scholar for the day. So make sure that you and your team have structured who's got the building, you're in the building, and obviously if there's a major crisis, you know that you're gonna need to figure that out and triage, but you really want to try to be the scholar for the day. And that means that divide your team up. Not everybody on your admin team can be scholar of the day on the same day, right? So you have to be very strategic and planning when you are working on this activity. So you shadow and you just basically take notes. You are the student. And so for me on my shadow day, I started my day at ag, which was awesome. The lesson did not go as planned with the teacher because it was very cold that particular day, and we were supposed to go out into the woods to do something with leaves and trees. This is agriculture. So she had a punt. So great reminder. You remember what it's like to be in the classroom, and sometimes lessons don't always go as they plan. That's actually one of my favorite interview questions on our protocol. Tell me about a lesson that failed and what you did instead or next, right? So she had a great plan didn't go as planned, and we had to punt a little bit, but still ended up being a great class. Was in there for 90 minutes. We're on a block, red-white schedule. So 90 minutes of ag, and then transitioned to second period, which was biology, in which I got to take the practice biology EOC, in which I scored a 53% on. So definitely was a challenge taking the EOC as a student, using a Chromebook as a student, getting into the platform. The font was small. There's a lot of challenges, so took copious notes about what we can do for our testing environments for our students. Third period, I got to go to weights and weightlifting, and that was awesome. Performance-based class, hands-on, sweating in the middle of the day. Then of course lunch, which was a whole new experience, and then I ended the day in 10th Lit, as I shadowed a 10th grader and got to read night and do some work in that. And obviously I love reading, so it was a great way to end the day. But I gotta tell you, I was exhausted at the end of the day, like next level exhausted. And all I kept thinking was, our scholars now go to practice or band practice or theater practice or baseball practice. or they have homework to do, or they have siblings they need to take care of, or a house to clean, or home chores. So really putting yourself in the shoes of a scholar and trying to understand the demands that they face during the day, and then trying to then further extend that into the demands that they face after school was really, really good for your soul when you're thinking about what decisions and what things you're trying to do in your schoolhouse. So take notes on your entire experience. I have pages of notes from this. And then as your team works through Shadow a Scholar Day, you debrief with them. And then you take the information that you've learned, your takeaways, your ahas, and you use them to be an even better principal, assistant principal, support person, staff person. And that's really the goal of the project, is to help you, me, us, continuously improve as site-based leaders who are making impactful decisions every day that affect our students, right? So you're looking for what specific actions do scholars go through? What times of the day are very important to them, very critical to them? Where do they hang out? Where do they go during passing time? What is happening in their specific learning spaces? How do they interact with each other? And really trying to dive in and figure out and learn what our scholars value. Because their values and the things that are critically important to them, passing time, lunchtime, hallways, are not always the same things that we value as adults, right? And so just making sure that you have that in the forefront of your mind and putting yourself in the shoes of the scholars is just a really great professional learning activity for you to do this time of year as you're getting ready to end one amazing school year and then improve on this school year and start an amazing school year for next year. It's just a great way to do that. So hopefully you will think about it and take some tips from us. If you have any questions about how this day can work, or you want some samples of the forms, please feel free to shoot me an email at erayburn@bryank12gaus, and I'm gonna share a couple infographics that kind of lay out what your goals are for the day, and then some pictures of what my experience was. I use Twitter all the time to tell my story, right? Because if you don't tell your story, somebody else is going to tell your story for you, and it's not going to be the story you want to share. So use Twitter to promote your Shadow a Scholar Day if you do it, and tag me, let me know that you're doing it. And I hope that you guys come back after spring break refreshed, renewed, and excited for an elite springtime end of the year. Thanks guys, see ya.